Hi everyone. Right, today I'm going to revisit a card I made when I first found Stampin' Up, which was about 3 years ago now, and I made this card here with the then in colours, and that's do you know, I said it the other day and I got it completely wrong. Blackberry Bliss, and that one's Mossy Meadow, and this was just my favourite, and still is my favourite purple, and I made this card, and I sell my cards, and loads of people have gone, I really like that card, and no one's ever bought it, and I'm quite glad that no one's ever bought it, because I'm a little bit sad that I like it so much, that I like the fact that I've still got it. Anyway, so I thought, this is a bit sad really, in it. Let's make it again. And we have now got the new in colour Fresh Fig, which is coming out on June the 1st. So I thought I'd recreate it. So I had a go today, and the first thing I did, because I couldn't find it, so I was doing it from memory, was I did it this way, and I used the card blank of Fresh Fig, and then used a white mat, and then I added the Tranquil Tide, and so it's very similar. And then I found the card and I thought, all right, I'll try and recreate that one. So I've recreated it that way, so it looks much the same now. So they're kind of 3 different versions. That was a little bit smaller. I think when I was making that one, I'd got a smudge on the card, so I cut it down, as you do. Well, as I do. So I'm going to show us how to make this card here today. Okay, so what I used now, yeah, it's a little bit like Blue Peter. Ta-da! So these are the measurements of everything that you need. So I used, this is extra thick Whisper White cardstock, so it's just cut in half and scored down the middle. So that's the card base. And then for the mat, I used Fresh Fig, and I cut it there at 5 5/8 by 3 7/8. So when that mats, you get 1/8 of an inch all the way round. Okay, and then this one is cut 2/8 of an inch, smaller than this, to give 1/8 of an inch all the way around on that mat. So this one is 5 3/8 by 3 5/8. And then I did 2 panels that are the same size, one in Tranquil Tide, one in Fresh Fig, and that's 5 1/8 by 1 1/2 inches. All this will be on my blog, but I just thought I'd set it out like that, and if you're anything like me, you just do a little screenshot. I'll make sure that that measurement is actually in the shot, otherwise it's not really a good screenshot, is it? So I used Fresh Fig ink, Tranquil Tide ink, and then I've used the Whisper White ink as well. And then the 2 stamp sets that I used, so I've used Butterfly Basics, and then for the sentiment I've used Teeny Tiny Sentiments, but I mean you could use any sentiment that you want. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is some stamping. So I'm going to do some tone on tone here with the Tranquil Tide. So I'm going to use the fern, which I've mounted, and I'm using my stamp mat because it's photopolymer. And just straight down and up. There we go. For the flower, I'm using struggle there. I'm using the Whisper White. This is a pigment ink, so it does take longer to dry than our normal ink, and I'll go slightly off it. So I'm going to use a little bit of scrap paper, and so I do give it a good mix up there. I think I transferred a bit of colour on this, but never mind, I'll re-ink it. So lots and lots of ink on there. I do find that sometimes you need a lot because otherwise it doesn't stamp, and because it's pigment I like to just lean a little bit, usually count, I don't know, count to 10. I just imagine the ink going off the pad onto the stamp onto the paper, and when I think, oh, it might have transferred, I then pull it up, and there, see, works. My methods might be mad, but they work. Okay, so as you can see, that that's all a little bit shiny, so that's all a bit wet. It does take longer to dry, and so it doesn't smudge. You can use a heat tool, but I did one earlier. Okay, so that we don't have to wait. So that one's all nice and dry for us. Okay, so this is going to get simply stuck on to our white mat, and I do have some snail to do that. So I'm just going to run my snail. I do like the sound of snail. Don't know why. I just like it. It's a bit like, I don't know if anybody watched Rainbow when you were a kid. Up above the streets and houses, and they used to do a little picture, and they used to get all these shapes that would come in and make the picture, and they would come into sounds, and you'd have a boing boing boing, and I really liked them. And when we had kids, I'm talking about me and my other half, we got a telephone, and the little button on it where the receiver went down had this boingy boingy noise, which just took us right back to the days of Rainbow, and I think that's probably why I really like the sound of snail. Anyway, did love Rainbow, and there we go. That's that done nicely. So then that gets stuck onto the, I'm using it upside down again, aren't I? No, I wasn't actually. That gets stuck down onto the, don't actually need my stamp mat anymore, do I? We might get rid, then you might see better. Don't know if you can see better. And then I'm going to stick that onto my fresh fig. I've got a little bit of snail there, so I just get rid. This is our adhesive remover. Absolutely bleeding brilliant, especially if you're like me and you get marks on things. Absolutely excellent. Right, then I'm just going to put a little sentiment on, and I did, this one's a sympathy, that one's a nice big happy birthday, as is that one, and I decided to go for Mother's Day. I know Mother's Day's gone, but they do celebrate Mother's Day at different times of the year in other places, but you know, it'll do, and it does mean that it might stay in my stash for a while. I thought it might got a little bit lost there, so I'm just gonna sponge it a bit to give it a little bit of an edge. So this is just one of our sponges cut into 4, and then I cut out a bit of the cardstock that is the colour, there. I just think it shows it up a little bit better. There we go. And then I got some dimensionals here. So I am going to just find my scissors. There they are. And I'm just going to cut a little bit of our skeleton that's left around the edges of the dimensional, which goes perfect inside this one. I know this label punch is no longer with us, and it is, the new one is on my list, and I'm going to buy the new sentiments that go with the banners. I think it's banners and label punch. So there we go. So all that's left to do is to attach that to that. Now, because this is a little bit heavier, I'm not going to trust snail to it. Just worried it might come off. So I'm going to use good old Tombaruni, which is coming to the end. Very much so. Let's try this one. I've got two there that are almost empty. I leave them upside down in a pot so that the glue, come on, can you do this one for me? Yay, there we go, don't be shy. Marvellous, you see, you think it's empty, but there's loads more in there. Look, gushing out now, absolutely gushing out. So line that up. I'm going to line it up on that side, I think. And because I've used Tombow, I have my wigglage. I like a bit of wigglage. There we go. And that is it. But it's not it, because what I like to do is I like to finish my cards off with a little bit in the centre. I'm just gonna, the reason why that's got a second bit is because I managed to touch it with a bit of ink. So I'm just going to do that on the inside. This time I'm going to use the fern, only because that's still white. So I'm going to use the fern, and I always stamp off first when I do this, because, and put my thumb in the ink, because I think I just want it subtle. I don't want, and just put a little bit in there. That'll do. Okay, so that's it today. We are done recreating my favourite card. So there we go. So that was the original, and that's what I've done today, bringing it bang up to date. So hope you like it. See you again soon. Don't forget, if you haven't already, check out my blog. You can get to my shop there to buy anything that you want. And don't forget, May is still here, so use the hostess code, and I'll be sending an extra freebie gift to anybody that shops in May. Okay.